Libra, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly readings, I review the major planetary aspects and transits, and then I let you know how they're going to impact your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. All you need to know to enjoy this reading is your birth date, because I'm going to translate everything else for you. We're going to start out really broad with the big stuff, reviewing the current chart for the week. This is the week of August 15th through the 21st, 2023. We have a new moon coming up, lots of interesting energy. And then we're going to focus down into Libra specific information. And then I will break things down into the 3 decans of Libra. A decan is a group of 10 degrees. And by doing so, I will be able to understand how your natal suns are being impacted by the planets around them. So let's go. Let's see. Not around them. Yeah, everything revolves around the sun, right? No. I will be able to understand how your natal suns are aspecting the other planets, which will let me know how things are going to impact you for this week. So let's start out with the big stuff. Well, first of all, I mentioned the new moon, right? It's on the 16th. It's early in the morning if you're in the States. It's like between like 2 and 5 if you're over here, depending on what time zone you're in, is AM. You guys, this is an interesting new moon. It's very romantic. It's very passionate. It's very high-charged, optimistic, and expansive. This new moon is square to Uranus and trine to Chiron and conjunct Venus retrograde. The fact that there's a new moon in Leo conjunct Venus retrograde means mushy, gushy, ushy, gushy. We're finding value where we may not have found it before, changing our minds because we need the change. Think of the square to Uranus. And we've learned lessons based on our trine to Chiron. We've been able to heal. So this is us allowing new things in our life that we now see differently because we've changed, we want change, and we're tired of the same old. And with Venus retrograde, maybe we skipped over the value of something simply because we didn't recognize it the first time around. This is a beautiful time, Libra, to welcome in new romance, new connection, as well as a new way to value yourself, a new sense of who you are, and maybe even a whole new look. Let's get into it and see. There's more stuff going on. All this week we have a grand Earth trine between Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn, Uranus at 22 to 23. It's gonna move a degree, Taurus, and then we have Mars in Virgo. So Mars in Virgo, by the end of this week, is going to be at 26 degrees. All week long, it's going to start off at 22 degrees. So all week long, it's going to be in this beautiful grand Earth trine, meaning that we are settling into a new sense of things, a new way of using things, a new way of valuing or connecting with our resources, a sense of relaxing into a difference, change, and more metamorphosis. So that is a really beautiful energy. The troublesome energy is not, okay, the troublesome energy is the Neptune opposition to Mars, and then eventually by the end of this week, Mercury conjunct Mars. All this week, Mercury is conjunct Mars. And generally speaking, in Virgo, that's a pretty good energy. It's productive. It gets shit done. It puts it in the right order. It figures things out. It takes initiative, and it's very facetious. Like, it's very particular. And so it's usually quality work. There's 2 things that are compromising it, though. Mercury is in shadow period, which means it's slowing down, and it's not moving as quickly. And maybe things aren't supposed to move as quickly. So that's not really troublesome because, remember, we're in the middle of retrograde season. We already have Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto and Venus in retrograde. By the 23rd, Mercury will go into retrograde. By, I think, August 30th or 31st, it's Jupiter going into retrograde, or Uranus. And then by the September 3rd, I think it's Jupiter that goes into retrograde. So we have on September 3rd a day where we have almost all planets in retrograde except for Mars. And then September 4th, Venus goes direct. So we start to have these planets start to pop out of retrograde. Venus will then revisit all the planets that she interacted with in retrograde. She'll start interacting with them again, going direct. So she's still in Leo, man. And Venus is going to be in Leo right up through, I think, the beginning of October, which is when Mercury will finally come out of retrograde again. So this is, it can be relatively frustrating energy because we feel like we can feel it, but come on already. Just let it be. Don't let it move quickly. It's moving at the pace that it has to move. And the fact that you feel it, you're right. Don't worry about it. Like, put the worry aside. You know, don't miss holding something in your hand, because when you're reaching for it and it's at your fingertips, you drop everything. Don't do it. Know that it will eventually roll into your hand. Just have that certainty right now. It's very important. The troublesome aspect that I worry about is Neptune. Neptune's opposition to the Mercury-Mars conjunction. And this will really start to happen around the 16th of this week, because right now, in the very beginning of this week, it's not, neither Mars or Mercury are in close enough opposition to Neptune to really matter, but it's building. And what is it? It's the energy of deception. It's the energy of planning things around unclear facts and unclear information or fantastical information. It's perceived inadequacies or failures or vulnerabilities and an attempt to overcompensate for them. So it could be expose. I don't know. I hope that's what it ends up being, but there is it is a challenging energy, to say the least. So let's see how all of this is going to be impacting Libra specifically. So for Libra specific, I look at, for each zodiac sign, I look at the zodiac sign itself. In this case, I'll be looking at Libra, what's going on in Libra. And then I'll be looking at Venus. Venus is your ruling dignitary. So what's going on in Libra? The South Node is moving between 27 degrees and 26 degrees. South Node in Libra is simply settling in and how cozy and comfortable you've gotten with your understanding of who you are in relationships. And that's that kind of comfort zone, that partnership. In opposition then is that North Node, and actually North Node is not in opposition to the South Node. It is the same entity as the South Node. It is one path. So it reflects the fact that we've got to recalibrate our strength in relationships and in collaboration, along with our individuality and our sense of self, and find a way to let one nurture the other. That's what our assignment is for the next year and a half. And Libra's a part of that, right? Libra and Aries. Usually when the South Node is in an energy, people are very comfortable with this energy and they get sort of a relief period, right? North Node brings a lot of contention because it points out things, it makes people feel uncomfortable. So at least you got for the next year and a half kind of an easement of sorts. Let's see what's happening for this week. Venus. Venus is in Leo. She's moving between, she's retrograde, right? So she's moving between 19 and 15 degrees, which means she'll be in the second decan of Leo. We'll see how that interacts with you guys. We have Venus conjunct the Sun through the 16th, only through the 16th, through that new moon. And then that conjunction will be over. She will be square to Uranus only through the 17th, only through the day after that new moon. So that new moon really reflects that sort of end period in a way as Venus moves on to square Jupiter. And she's really technically square Jupiter all week long. Venus square Jupiter is about indulgence. It's about decadence. It's about excessive eating, excessive sexuality, excessive sensuality, or if not excess, it's being challenged. It's challenging to kind of reel yourself in and control yourself. It is quite an optimistic energy and a celebratory energy. There's nothing technically sad about it or bad about it, except that you can go into excess, and so we may discuss or see issues around spending too much money or excessive eating or challenges like that throughout this week, and for as long as Venus is square to Jupiter, which will be past this week. Actually, she should be square to Jupiter. She will be square to Jupiter all week. We have Venus trine Chiron, which means the mending of the way that we value and see ourselves, the mending of any kind of aesthetic energy or injuries that could have happened to us, even in some ways mending our relationship with intimacy and connection. And then we have Venus semi-square, not semi-square, sesquiquadrate. I always say that word wrong, to Neptune. This is a frustrated energy. It's a stirring energy. It's almost like it's agitation, but also obstruction. So what does that mean? I think it means a lot, considering that Mars, Venus's counterpart, is in opposition to Neptune. The fact that both of those, like the divine feminine energy, the divine masculine energy, is compromised by this fucking Neptune, by this delusion and convolution of facts, of reality versus fiction. I think this is coming to a head this week. So there can be some tension with any kind of power struggles between the divine feminine and divine masculine. Just an FYI. Let's go into the Virgo decans, okay? So this is going to tell you then how, I'm sorry, not Virgo, the Libra decans. It's going to tell you how your natal suns are going to be impacted. If you know that your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Libra, it's in the first decan or group of 10 degrees of Libra. And so you guys are Libra ones. For those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, what do you mean which degree? It's in Libra. What does it matter? All of you, Libra takes up 30 degrees on the zodiac wheel, which is a total of 360 degrees, because there's 12 zodiac signs and 360 divided by 12 is 30. So every zodiac sign is a total of 30 degrees, and I guarantee you your natal sun sits on one of them. Now, depending on where it's sitting, we're going to be able to measure the different angles with the other planets or the other luminaries to see how your natal sun is going to be impacted. And you will quickly see that not all Libras are being impacted the same way. I do this based on the sun sign because the sun sign tends to touch every part of your life, though if you have other planets in Libra, these conjunctions could be realized for those as well. But this is still all about how these interactions, these aspects will impact the sun. So if you know your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Libra, you are Libra ones. This correlates to birthdays in basically September Libras. Those birthdays between September 22nd and October 1st. That would be you guys, Libra ones. Your natal suns are in a long-term trine to Pluto, so there is a butterfly-esque energy about developing and growing who you are and feeling really comfortable with change, as well as your psychic abilities, the darker, more taboo aspects of life that they're not intimidating you. You're almost harmonizing your shadow is what it is. And this is very powerful or empowering energy for you over the next couple of years. And then we have a quincunx to Saturn, which means butting heads or always feeling like there's a like getting agitated by obstructions or restrictions, and that is meant to sort of spur you into action. So there will be some frustration when it comes to limitations, laws, rules, all of those things for the next year to try to get you supercharged into doing something, into action, into releasing that energy, learning more, understanding, so you can develop and progress, but it's gonna bust your balls. Cusps, if you are at it's the Virgo Libra cusp only if you're at that would be like September 22nd, 23rd, if that's your birthday. Your natal suns are in opposition to Neptune, and so that puts you in a really interesting energy with Mars this week. A sense of, once again, this has been going on for a while for you guys, but because it's now activated, because there's another energy in opposition to it, Mars and Mercury, by the end of the week, a conjunction is a strong activation. So this week might be especially difficult for you guys to read between the lines or see the truth of things. And it could be very easy for you to fall for BS. So when it comes to all those quirky and off the cusp romantic energies that are coming up this week, I would watch it, because I don't think that they'll, like, it's almost like falling in love at the club with the music pumping and the lights down low. And then you're going to get a serious reality check in the morning. That's kind of how it's going to be this week and into next week. So be sure that you don't make any real important decisions right now, because they could be really cloudy or foggy. And honestly, it would be easy to fall for anything. This is best used to kind of allow yourself to dream and find your faith in just how the energy around you is flowing. And I wouldn't rush into any big decisions for the next week and a half. Mercury going into retrograde is even going to make that more powerfully potent. So watch out for people trying to sell you tonic water and tell you it's medicine. Just an FYI. Libra 2s. Let's go on to Libra 2s. So Libra 2s, if you know that your natal sun is between 10 and 19 degrees Libra, you are Libra 2s. This correlates to birthdays between October 2nd and the 11th. So your natal suns are sextile to Venus retrograde. Very, very romantic energy, nostalgic energy, romance that could come back from the past, or just loving feelings coming up in places that may surprise you, since Venus is square to Uranus, at least through this new moon. Your natal suns are quincunx to Jupiter, meaning the desire to learn more and grow beyond your borders, whether they be actual geological borders or just your mental state, is you just want to grow. You just want to get moving forward. This isn't a bad energy. It's actually one that you care to develop yourself. The opposition to Chiron may suggest that you are having trouble with self-esteem, this sense of who you are and if you're good enough. And then your natal suns are in a semi-square to the new moon, which means this is definitely going to create a challenge for you that's going to point something out that you need to understand. And at first you may not want to understand it or be able to understand it. It's going to take you having a lot of compassion with yourself and faith in the situation to open yourself up to the lesson. Romance, excitability, curiosity, a need to wander, almost like feeling like you need to wander. This could offer you a fresh start, but one that you don't fully recognize, or one that you come to because you're so frustrated you don't have a choice. But that could be a blessing in disguise as well, right? And a blessing that's not too thinly disguised. It's like you want something new and you may be frustrated because you're not seeing it come in the form that it is you expected it. Libra, let the universe surprise you this week. Let it happen. Let's go on to Libra 3s. So Libra 3s, if you know that your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Libra, you guys are Libra 3s. This correlates to birthdays in October between the 12th and the 22nd, so right up to that Scorpio cusp. Your natal suns are the ones conjunct the South Node in opposition to the North Node, but really you're the ones sitting on that nodal exchange. So the themes of finding yourself and your individuality to balance out your relationship and make your relationships healthier are going to play a big role in your next year, as well as your transformation, because your natal suns are also square to Pluto all year long. This is huge transformation, as well as being very formidable and having people butt heads with you, because they always feel as soon as you walk into the room, you're there to take over. This is a powerful energy that has a profound impact on people, and once you become aware of it, you can actually direct it in the right way. It's very important to not bulldoze over people when you have access to this energy, because that can develop a lot of bad dharma. So you don't want to do that. This is a transformative time for you, especially with relationships and your sense of self. allow it to transform you and help you open and expand. This week, your natal suns are sextile to the new moon and sextile to the sun, which is a beautiful way to say you have a beautiful new opportunity coming into your life, especially when it comes to romance, love, or money. It's a great time to manifest because those things will come to you this week like blessings from heaven. You have a long-term quincunx to Uranus and a quincunx to Neptune, meaning that you are not satisfied with the norm, that you're not connecting with it, that you want something different and are frustrated maybe because you're constantly seeing you're gonna find yourself rebelling against routine. That is definitely for the next couple of years. Creativity in a lot of ways could be it could be your best friend, but it also could be distracted. You could find yourself being distracted a lot, and the reason why you're distracted is because you want that change, but you don't necessarily know which direction it's coming from. You ask the universe, help. You know, you don't necessarily feel completely in control of this over the next couple of years, and you're not. Right? You want something new, but you don't necessarily know what you want because there's more aptitude with that quincunx to Neptune for getting distracted. If you find a way to take that energy and use it creatively and start creating, this could generate some wonderful things and absolutely help you channel the energy so it doesn't distract you. That's the best way to use it. But this week, please manifest. You're going to be very powerful around that new moon, and there's going to be beautiful financial opportunities that open up for you, financial or romantic. And yes, because this new moon is square to Uranus, it's going to surprise us all. I love you guys. Feel free to leave the comments below. Subscribe here, please. Help the channel grow. And then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card message. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos.